Bold and the Beautiful. Carter's fired and could face prison over sketchy move. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my channel Beautiful Today. I hope everyone is having a nice day. Before we begin the video, please subscribe and give the video a thumbs up. Bold and the Beautiful spoilers suggest Carter Walton makes a move that could send him to prison depending on how the Forresters respond. This week, his best friend Ridge Forrester fired him, and Carter's response to the termination could see him in handcuffs. This stubborn dedication he has for Hope Logan really could cost him everything, according to B&B spoilers. Even before Monday's episode began, I suspected Ridge Forrester's ultimatum that the disgraced COO dump Hope would not end well. The argument between Carter Walton and his boss devolved into nastiness and even mother and daughter insults. And things will only get worse from here on Bold and Beautiful. Lawyers are already involved, and the cops may be soon. After those low blows on Bold and the Beautiful, Carter hit harder with his defiance and challenged Ridge. So he fired him, but in doing so, Ridge made a catastrophic mistake. He didn't get back the other copy of these LLC documents. In today's breakdown, Belinda reveals what could send Carter from the C-suite to a not-so-sweet prison cell. Carter Walton's next choice could ruin his life, his career, and give him a criminal record on B&B. It was supposed to be a typical day at Forrester Creations, a place where high fashion collided with the drama of personal lives. But for Carter Walton, the day was anything but ordinary. The energy at Forrester was different this morning. There was an undercurrent of tension that seemed to seep through the walls of the elegant building. Employees bustled about, but their conversations were hushed, their movements cautious. And it wasn't just the usual gossip filling the air. The CEO of Forrester Creations, Eric Forrester, was about to make a decision that would change everything for Carter. A decision that could very well cost him his job, his reputation, and his freedom. Carter had always been the reliable one, the one everyone turned to when they needed a lawyer who could get them out of trouble. His integrity had earned him the respect of his colleagues and the trust of the Forrester family. But now his past mistakes, and a very questionable move, were beginning to catch up with him. And no one could escape the consequences when they finally came crashing down. It all started a few weeks ago. Carter had been approached by a shadowy figure, a business tycoon with connections that ran deeper than anyone could imagine. The man, who went by the name of Victor Rossi, had presented Carter with an offer that was hard to refuse. On the surface, it appeared to be a simple legal matter, helping Rossi settle a contract dispute with a rival company. However, Carter had quickly realized that there was more to it than met the eye. The paperwork Rossi handed him was filled with fine print, terms that seemed too good to be true. As Carter skimmed through the contract, something didn't sit right with him. There were clauses that seemed designed to benefit Rossi at the expense of Forrester Creations. But Carter, desperate to prove himself and secure a deal that could help him climb the corporate ladder, chose to ignore his instincts. "Don't worry, Carter," Rossi had said with a smirk that didn't quite reach his eyes. "This will be a game changer for both of us. Just do what I'm asking and you'll see the payoff." Rossi's confidence was enough to convince Carter to sign on the dotted line. He told himself that he could handle it, that he would protect Forrester's interests while helping Rossi with his legal needs. But the further Carter got involved, the more he realized he was in way over his head. Days turned into weeks, and Carter watched as the consequences of his decision unfolded. A rival company, known for shady business practices, had been using the contract Rossi provided to manipulate Forrester Creations. The terms of the deal were being twisted and used against them in the media, and soon enough, the story spread like wildfire. The public backlash was immediate, with social media platforms buzzing with accusations of dishonesty, corruption, and scandal. The Forrester family was livid. Eric, who had always trusted Carter, was the first to confront him. "Explain yourself, Carter," Eric demanded, his voice colder than ever before. "What is this mess you've dragged us into? This is not the Forrester way." Carter's stomach twisted in knots. He had always prided himself on doing the right thing, but now, standing in front of Eric, the reality of his situation hit him hard. There was no way out. The damage had been done. "I didn't know, Eric," Carter stammered. "I thought I was helping. I thought I was doing the right thing." Eric's face was set in stone, his disappointment radiating from him. "You should have known, Carter. You've been with us long enough to recognize when something is off, but instead, you chose to ignore your instincts." The days that followed were a whirlwind of investigations, heated meetings, and frantic attempts to salvage what was left of the Forrester reputation. Carter tried to explain his actions to the family, but every explanation felt like a feeble attempt to cover up the truth. He had messed up, and no amount of words could undo the damage. But things didn't stop there. As the investigation into the contract deepened, authorities began to get involved. What started as a corporate dispute soon turned into something far more serious. The FBI had started looking into the deal Carter had made with Rossi, suspecting it was part of a much larger scheme involving money laundering and fraud. The stakes were higher than ever, and now Carter was facing not just the loss of his job, but potential criminal charges. The walls of the Forrester office were closing in around him. Carter had always been a man of honor, but now his reputation was in shambles. His colleagues, once his closest allies, were beginning to distance themselves. They couldn't afford to be associated with someone whose name had become synonymous with scandal. Then came the day he was called into a meeting with Eric, Ridge, and Donna. The mood in the room was tense, the air thick with accusation. Eric's eyes were filled with anger and betrayal, while Ridge's face was grim, as if he already knew what was coming. "I don't know how to say this, Carter," Eric began, his voice low, "but you're fired. We can't afford the risk of having someone who's compromised working here." Carter felt a sinking feeling in his chest. Fired. The word echoed in his mind, repeating over and over, but that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was what came next. "You're not just fired," Carter, Ridge added, his tone sharp. "The authorities are involved now. They're looking into everything, and if they find evidence that you've broken the law, you could face prison time." The words hit Carter like a freight train. Prison? He had never even considered that possibility. He had always been so careful, so cautious. How had it all gone so wrong? "I didn't do anything illegal," Carter pleaded, his voice trembling. "I thought I was making the deal. I didn't know what it would lead to." Donna, who had always been the calming force in the family, shook her head with sympathy. "Carter, I believe you, but the truth doesn't always matter in the eyes of the law. The facts are what they'll use against you." Carter stood there, feeling like a man who had just lost everything. His job, his career, his reputation, all of it had been destroyed by a single misstep. And now, the possibility of prison loomed large over him, a constant shadow he couldn't escape. As the days passed, Carter's life became a blur of lawyers, court dates, and frantic phone calls. He tried to salvage whatever he could, but the evidence against him seemed insurmountable. The Forrester name, once a symbol of luxury and respect, was now entangled in a mess of corruption and scandal. And Carter was at the center of it all. But even as the weight of his mistakes pressed down on him, Carter refused to give up. He knew that the only way out of this was to take responsibility for his actions and fight back. He couldn't undo the past, but he could control what came next. With the help of his legal team, Carter set out to prove that he had been manipulated by Rossi, that he had never intended to cause harm to Forrester Creations. But the road to redemption would be long and difficult, and as the trial date drew closer, Carter realized that the consequences of his actions were far greater than he had ever imagined. Would Carter Walton survive this scandal? Would he be able to clear his name and rebuild his life? Or would he lose everything, his job, his career, and his freedom, all because of one fateful decision? As the drama unfolded, The Forrester family found themselves facing a future they never could have predicted. And Carter Walton's place in the world of the bold and the beautiful was forever changed. Feel free to let me know if you want to expand on any particular section or if you need further development.